This is WYNT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Macy Marie. Two people were arrested in Knox County for drug trafficking. Police say Joe Barlow Owens of South Carolina and Stephanie Brock from Rockholds were found parked outside of a business gate on the Corbin bypass around 4 a.m. A deputy had them get out of the car and found 2 pounds of meth, a pound of marijuana, and several other drugs and drug paraphernalia, along with $8,000 in cash.
You're talking well over, $20,000 with the combined drugs. That has a street value of all of it combined.
Both Owens and Brock are being held at the Knox County Detention Center. Kentucky State Police say one of their troopers had to use his gun during a case in Powell County today. It all happened in Clay City on West Lone Oak Road. Officials say Michael Osborne was driving a stolen car when he tried to hit a state trooper, who then opened fire. Osborne was not hit. He was later captured and taken to the Powell County Detention Center. Kentucky State Police have a missing persons report tonight out for a Perry County man. Officials are searching the North Fork of the Kentucky River for this man, 53-year-old Danny Napier, who also goes by the nickname Tin Can. They believe he wound up in the river between early Saturday morning and around 2 in the afternoon on Sunday.
The search are fighting against the elements of the river, which has receded quite a bit since yesterday, but with the high level that it was at, if someone went in without any kind of flotation device or life jacket, it would be difficult to kind of navigate the river.
This is a missing persons case right now. If you have any information, they ask you to call Post 13 in Hazard. That number is 606-435-6069. Though he was in D.C. today, Governor Matt Bevin declared a state of emergency for the state of Kentucky due to recent flooding. Counties across the state have made similar moves in the past week in hopes of receiving critical money to help fix vital infrastructure.
This will free up our Adjutant General to use National Guard resources, Navy personnel, Navy equipment, to come alongside at the request of local jurisdictions to be available to help them.
That is the first hurdle officials in Knott County say they need to clear before they can begin fixing roadways damaged by recent weather. Last week, County Judge Executive Jeff Dobson told us the county road department has less than $40,000 in its accounts. Even before damaging rains this past weekend, the county was already looking at well over $150,000 in repairs for damaged roads. And as we learned today, some people in the Knott County area are not able to get out of their homes. We are told it's too dangerous to drive out to the families stranded along Hummingbird Lane. And although it's a county road, state highway crews are out here helping clear debris. Their focus, however, is fixing Kentucky Route 550, a road that's been hammered by erosion. Locals say they've been nervous watching school buses drive here.
When it went over, it kind of leaned, It was scary. It's watching the bus went over.
Timothy Cox says even the back roads he's been using as alternate routes are in pretty rough shape.
When you come all through the cut, come down, it kind of leans, towards your left side.
Officials from Highway District 12 say they've been stretched thin, considering they are working on 32 different incidents in the 7 counties they cover.
We have not had this many significant incidents in this short amount of time ever.
Another issue, Sarah George says asphalt plants do not reopen until the 1st of April, meaning these repairs are only temporary.
Places where the blacktop needs to be replaced won't be able to have a permanent fix until the asphalt plants reopen.
In the meantime, state road crews will need to file estimates on damages to get emergency funding from the state. Kentucky Route 550 was reopened but could close again tomorrow for more repairs. County officials tell us repairs on Hummingbird Lane are expected to begin soon. Previously, officials from the county told us because of their financial situation, they're only able to work on county roads that are completely blocked.
And overall, it's not been a bad day here in the mountains. At least the sunshine finally returned. We are actually near average for this time of year. Check it out. You can see on the almanac, we reached a high of 49 today. Average is right around 51. Low of 28 is not too far of our average of 32 for this time of year. I know most of us would like to be near that record of 76 set back in 2000. Now, we do have a couple of flood warnings still out for our area, and some of these are through Tuesday and beyond, especially for the Kentucky River and the Cumberland River, as those are still pretty high right now, and we won't see those warnings go away until those rivers start to recede. But as we scan the skies now, at least we are looking at a clean sweep on pinpoint Doppler, and that'll continue over the next few days. Temperatures, they're into the upper 30s right now. Some spots already dropping into those lower 30s. We are looking at a little bit chillier of a night, but as we head throughout the next couple of days, sunshine and warmer temperatures are the name of the game, but those rain chances do start to return by the end of the work week, and we'll break down that full forecast coming up in just a little bit. Macy.
All right, thank you, Paige. A Johnson County family is left with hardly anything after this past weekend's flood. Marcia Sexton and her 5 children had no time to pack any belongings after they realized the water was almost into their home. They hurried out and jumped in the car and drove to a family member's home to find safety.
We all started kind of panicking, then we calmed down. But then we started getting stuff together, and we knew we didn't have enough time, so we tried to rush our way out of the house. As soon as we got out of the house, it was at the 4th step.
Many families in Johnson County were impacted by the flood. If you would like to make a donation, you can contact the county's resource center. We have that number on our website at WYMT.com. As heavy rain fell over the weekend, floodwaters spilled into the Wolfe County Animal Shelter. Animals have been moved as the shelter works to clean up the damage left behind. And all that damage comes with a big price tag. That's why the shelter is asking for help during their recovery. Chelsea Jones talked to shelter officials.
When floodwater started to rise Saturday night, Wolfe County Animal Shelter volunteers had to act fast.
It was probably about 6 or 7 inches up on the outside of the building and was coming through the doors.
They quickly evacuated the dogs and transported them to nearby foster homes. Volunteers spent the night pushing out water. Now they're busy cleaning up the damage.
If you look at the floor has been damaged tremendously by where our volunteers spend hours squeegeeing.
The shelter is asking for donations. Volunteers sanitizing everything the floodwaters touched to keep the dogs from getting parvo.
We have to use a product called Rescue that's very, very expensive.
Residents in Wolfe County are also having to clean up.
Folks are in shock that if they've lost everything in their home, that it's obviously a pretty devastating event.
Red Cross volunteers handing out cleanup kits to help with the process.
It's got sponges, it's got gloves, it's got rubber gloves, it's got scrub brushes and cleaning materials.
And offering shelter to those whose homes were significantly damaged by the floods.
I mean, it's good just to be able to give a little bit back and help them a little bit, and hopefully get on the road to recovery.
I'm Chelsea Jones, WYMT Mountain News.
Meanwhile, people remain stranded in the confluence community of Leslie County. Water released from Buckhorn Lake floods the road in and out. Officials with Army Corps say it could take several weeks before the levels will begin being normal. Kentucky 257 is closed as water is over most of the road. Today, groups pitched in and delivered supplies. However, conditions are dangerous even by boat.
Maintain what you got just in case no one can't get to you to give you more food or water.
It was not until later this afternoon around 3 o'clock that crews were able to get out on the water and deliver food. They first had to check out for those dangerous conditions like bridges and buildings that are underwater. As the floodwater recedes in Magoffin County, many are now seeing the sheer scale of damage. Magoffin County was one of the hardest hit areas. One man says it only took 20 minutes for floodwater to almost come into his house. And although his house is dry, he says he lost thousands of dollars worth of equipment due to that water.
It luckily stopped. And, I'm just thankful that the stuff we lost is material stuff. There's people in town that lost a lot more than we did, and I feel for them.
Mark Salyer believes drains backing up contributed to the flooding in his area. It used to be a drug you would hear about occasionally being prescribed for a child to help them focus in school. Now there's probably not many college students around that do not at least know its name. Adderall is an upper, and there's been a drastic rise in people abusing it. As investigative reporter Miranda Combs found out, it's spreading to more than just college campuses.
If anyone is going to notice an increase, it would be the people that divvy it out.
We have seen an uptick or an increase in the uses of this medication in recent times, recent years.
He's a pharmacist for a mom-and-pop pharmacy in Lexington.
When you ask them, and we ask them, you know, how are you doing on this medications? That's part of our job.
And it's part of Dr. Matthew Neltner's job to prescribe it. Adderall is a Schedule II drug not taken lightly, but effective treatment typically used to treat attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Is Adderall dangerous?
When taken as prescribed, not really, but for people who are taking more than, you know, the recommended daily amount, then yeah, it could cause potentially a number of different problems.
And that's what studies are showing, a dramatic increase in the amount of people abusing Adderall. A study done by a professor at the University of Kentucky found Adderall is frequently used by people who it's not prescribed to.
The number of college students who've used medicine like Adderall or Ritalin in the past year that wasn't prescribed to them is as high as 35%.
And Dr. Neltner says as many as 9% of high school students will use Adderall without a prescription.
It has a stimulating effect that's similar to cocaine. You could compare it to that.
And actually, both Adderall and cocaine are Schedule II drugs. So is methamphetamine. They are all stimulants, which in a society where meth is the #1 drug, it makes sense that the use of Adderall would not be far behind. In Lexington, Miranda Combs, WKYT.
Dr. Neltner says Adderall really only boosts someone's ability to focus about 5% compared to people who actually need the drug. Coming up, R. Kelly bails out after pleading not guilty to sexual abuse. And we'll have the latest on the case against the Grammy Award-winning R&B star. And the U.S. continues to push against Venezuela's regime, how the U.S. plans to send aid over the border.
And more sunshine is on the way, but for how long? We'll break down that full forecast in just a few minutes.